dominated the world have used money to rule it and have ruled it in their own interest. It looks at a world economic system that has no regard for the poor, that has no regard for the small nations, that has no regard for the poor of the small nations. And the policy is a dignified policy, is not a violent policy, is not a policy of guns. It's a very honorable policy, but it is a very clear policy. It is a policy that calls the poor of the world to stand together, to stand firm together, to struggle together, to struggle for change, to struggle for justice, to struggle through organization, to struggle through will, to struggle through determination, to struggle to build a new kind of world in which your children and mine will walk with more dignity, with better housing, with better opportunity, with better prices, with better response from the World Monetary System. That is the world to which I call you. That is the world for which I struggle, and no power will turn me back from that world. And comrades, if you go and walk with me, if you go and step with me, if you go and move with me, we're moving as warriors. We're moving in determination. We're moving to struggle. We're moving to change that world. No power will turn us back.
Me ever fresh, me no green.
Me coulda never green, dog. Me no chow chow. No. Ha 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 ho ho. Who ya know?
But if change is what we really want to see, ladies and gentlemen, then we must rise up. We must unite. We must advocate. We cannot remain silent. Where are the young men, the young women, the men, the women, the boys, the girls who will put aside political divide and do what is best for Jamaica? Eternal Father, bless our land. Guide us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil powers. Be our light through countless hours. Even our pledge, our national pledge, says before God and all mankind, we cannot see a better Jamaica unless we return to the foot of the cross. Jamaica under God must increase in beauty, fellowship and prosperity, and play our part.
If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
I said I'm happy every day as I travel through this land. I've been mighty blessed by God, and I'm holding to his hand. Yes, mommy, I see you. Yes, the journey is almost over. Shut up. And the battle is nearly won. And I have a feeling. I have a feeling in my heart. The best is yet to come. Slide of it over there, so una ready to una get up now, man. Una get up now, man. I feel mad in this place. Let's go. I am happy every day as I travel through this land. I've been mighty blessed by God, and I'm holding to his. Over there, so I said the journey's almost over. I know the battle is nearly won. And I have a feeling in my heart, the best is yet. Come on, church. I said the best is yet to come. When I walk through heaven's gates, yeah, I said the first time I'll see Jesus, I can hardly wait. And he showed me to a man, son, and said, child, this is your home. And I have a feeling in my heart. You know this one? Listen, shut. Tell me who.
Oh, you know.
I want to hear the angels singing. I want to be in that number. I want to hear that trumpet song. We have done now. I want to hear archangel voice. I want to hear archangel. Oh, I want to hear when my name is called. I want to hear. Everybody know I want to hear. I want to hear. I want to hear. I want to hear. Watch out now. I want to see the angel marching. I want to be in that number. I want to hear. I want to hear that trumpet song. I want to hear archangel voice. I want to hear. God bless you now. I want to hear when my name is called. I want to hear. Everybody do so. If I'm not living for Christ, then I cannot be. Get something on way of it. Get something on way of it. Get something on. If I'm not living for Christ, then I cannot be happy. Walk out, Christian. I only live my life to please. Send me rocking for the rope and the star on my phone. I only live my life to please. Live up my life. Come on, man, we have done, man. Everybody, so. Live up some people, and no one. Prayer we pray.
Blood and fire, comrades who are in jungle tonight. On a know that the word is love. Comrades, I come with a speech, but it's a different speech may I forgive tonight. But before I go into that, we have been saying all night that young people know say time come. And I want to bring up a young man who has looked for himself, him read for himself, him search for himself, and when him done, him realize that the only choice he could choose is the People's National Party. And I want to welcome Comrade Perry.
Hold on. We don't have much time. When I say time, you say come. Time. Senator Murray, somebody asked me, Perry, why aren't you a Labourite? Me ever fresh, me no green.
Me coulda never green dog, me no chow-chow. No. Ha, ho. Who ya know? Underpants, Paolo. We don't get in
Hold on, cut in, man, hold on.
Me coulda never green.
Hold on, no DJ, man, hold on. I don't have much time. The next Prime Minister, let me shake your hands, so big up yourself, Mark Golding, Jensek, and brother, Dayton Campbell, doctor. Listen, in 1938, the People's National Party was formed out of the vision to help the poor people. It was born out of restlessness of the people seeking for better. And I believe that the People's National Party continues to be the answer for the people. Can I hear an amen? Hold on. In 1995, under the auspices of PJ Patson, the most honorable, there was a revitalization and an extension of the new National Youth Service Program, which gave young people the opportunity to earn commandment church. It gave people the opportunity to better themselves. I don't have much time, but hear what? I hear the other people them say, you must choose Jamaica, but you can't choose Jamaica without choosing the people. God bless you.
Me coulda never green dog, me no chow-chow. No. Ha, ho. Me coulda never green dog, me no chow-chow.
Raise your flag, comrades.
Comrades, I want to let you know that young man is the former guild president at the University of the West Indies. That is the kind of young people that we attract in the People's National Party.
A corrupt government cannot liberate the people. If the head of the stream is corrupt, the entire river will be also. I do not support corruption. Corruption takes money away from children's education. It deprives hospitals of basic necessities. It means that roads are not fixed. Corruption deepens inequality. It siphons off taxpayers' money to make a few cronies richer with the political connections instead of benefiting the people. This government has been doing everything it can to weaken and undermine the Integrity Commission, which is an institution that I designed as Minister of Justice and brought the legislation to Parliament to fight corruption in this country. I have said it before and I will tell you again. Jamaica cannot move forward without a government built on integrity that embraces principles of good governance in this country.
The perspective with Perry Cummings Jr. Big up yourself. The best is yet to come. This is my perspective, telling you my perspective. This is my perspective to bring change that I feel me objective. Scandal after scandal. Look where Jamaica come to. Them rob the money and a thief a lot too. Election tactics, what a disgrace. Them cut off ribbon and the place. No safe is a prime minister. Are you me a address? Police a kill off the youth if you check. Talking about the way country are the best. But though this are my perspective, telling you my perspective. These are my perspective to bring change that are finished.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining. This is The Perspective, and I am your host, Perry Cummings Jr. Oh, what a blessing it has been. The weekend was good for everybody who tuned in yesterday. Yesterday was my birthday, and we had a lovely time. Remember to like the live, share the platform. If you're watching and you've not yet subscribed, please do so. We have a very powerful session tonight, and I'm very excited. Yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, I celebrated 27 years on this earth, and I was surprised. My church family, they collaborated with my closest friends. I want to give a big shout out to the Kidston Town UPC Church, Princess Williams, Marjorie Gordon, Minister Williams, Elder Gray, all of my friends, Adriel Delano, Jevon, Tevon, Tia, Brittany, all of my friends who made yesterday a very special day for me. If you want to rewatch the celebration, you can go and do so. The live is already up. But I can tell you, man, it was really a blessing. I had no intentions of celebrating anything, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be very honest with you. But they said, listen, on this occasion, I would have to celebrate, because being 27 is in this day and age, living to see 27 years in Jamaica as a young man, it is almost like a great accomplishment given our circumstances. But I want to give the Lord thanks for everything. Listen, we have a special guest. We have a very special guest that will be joining us at 7 p.m. He would have received a different graphic, but the team changed it last minute. But it's the same information. We're going to be diving very deep into the Middle East. I did share with you all that we're going to have to get some word from what is happening on the ground in Iran. We recognize that a lot of what is being fed to our news media here in Jamaica, it's very one-sided, right? But we're going to dive deeper into that. We're going to be speaking with the Iranian neuroscientist. Listen, I researched the pronunciation of his name. Kianush. I think it's Kianush, right? And I'm gonna get the last name. I'm gonna try and get the last name. Don't worry, I'm gonna get the last name. But he goes by Kia. He goes by Kia. Barujeni. I think he's gonna tell us the proper pronunciation, but I'm pretty sure it's Kianush Borujeni, something to that effect. But he's gonna come on and he's gonna clarify all of that. We're gonna get to know him a little better. Hear a bit of his work as a neuroscientist, some of his research, and of course tell us what is really happening in Iran with the war that is happening in the Middle East. Of course, we all know, and we've been discussing it, that the war in the Middle East is affecting several economies right across the world. When you look at the Strait of Hormuz, accounting for at least 20% of the world's oil, because that's where all of these ships have to be passing through. And you realize the strategic move by Iran to leverage what they can leverage, and what Iran can take advantage of is their economic leverage, where they have controlled the strait. But this is an exclusive interview. It is only happening on The Perspective. So ladies and gentlemen, please share the live. Share the live. Wake up somebody. Somebody is sleeping. Somebody is sleeping. Wake up somebody and let them know that we are going to be having a very wonderful conversation very, very soon with our brother Kia. Well, let me know where you're viewing from, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna touch on some local issues, then we go into the interview, then we go back to some local issues, right? But for now, let me know where you're viewing from. Montreal, East Portland. Listen, my birthday come and gone, it's back to business. We have some serious advocacy to do, ladies and gentlemen. New Jersey, blessings. Well, Shiloh, St. Elizabeth, Southfield, St. Elizabeth, Maypen, Clarendon, Islington, St. Mary, Yuaton, St. Catherine. Like up the live, ladies and gentlemen. Like it up. We have a guest with us tonight, and he's already backstage. He's just waiting to come on. Curacao, East Portland, Portmore, St. Elizabeth, watching from Georgia, USA, New Brunswick, Canada. Let us do the roll call. Come on in. Montreal, East Portland, Queens, New York. Blessings to each and every one of you. Of course, USA is here, ladies and gentlemen. Winchester, Virginia, Baltimore, Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. Lessman, upstate New York is here. Somebody said they will be vexed. They will be upset if you wake them up. Wake them up. None such East Portland. Blessings. Bogwalk is in the house. Blessings. Oh, no internet from last week? Well, you are here, Madeline Brown. Thank you for getting the data and joining. Listen, man, just as though you love me, I love you too. Blessings, West Rural, St. Andrew, Connecticut. Yes, man, Delaware. Like up the live, guys. Like up the live. We really need to reach that 500. Manchester, blessings. Blessings to you all, and thank you so much for joining. Well, we do have a number of things to touch on. Before we head into that wonderful discussion. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, when we think about it, there's just so much happening in Jamaica. I want to give a big shout out to Francesca for putting the connections together for me. My intention, ladies and gentlemen, is to do a series where Iran is concerned, and based on the contacts that I have, I'm gonna be able to connect with a few persons by the grace of our Lord. So this series is called The Deep Dive into the Middle East, only on The Perspective. Brooklyn, Mississippi, blessings, Cayman. Alright? But let us get into some very serious matters, because a lot of things are happening, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, it's the Carnival weekend. Let us listen to what some of the patrons, some of the jumpers are saying. Let us listen to what the revelers are saying,
flocked the
ladies and
streets
gentlemen.
of Kingston today for Carnival Road March 2026. Behind the costumes and merriment, a serious conversation about money. It's a billion-dollar industry, and this evening we hear about some of the bits and pieces that contribute. Ramada Lyons reports.
A burst of colors, music bouncing from speaker boxes, roadways lined with trucks. On them, cups overflowing with refreshments, costumes draping bodies, many happy to wave for the camera. This is a billion-dollar walk. They call it Road March. In 2025, overseas revelers spent an average of $5,300 per person. This resulted in a total overall spending of $23.6 million. This year, patrons say it's more than just vibes and costumes. It's financial planning.
You have 1 year to plan for Jamaica Carnival. Each month, you put on something. You know exactly that your backpack might cost $700, your costume might cost $650. Put on some money every month until you get there.
The money between, accommodation, costume, flights, you're looking at easily, about $2,000 US. And that's light. That's before you even have a backpack. You can see I don't have a backpack on. But I can tell you I will spend it 10 times over. It is the best experience ever.
And accommodations, we easily spent at least $1,300 on accommodations. On costume alone was another $1,600 probably. And I didn't even do the top line. And then that's not even adding on all the parties, which some are like 200 plus. And it goes from there. So we're definitely on the higher end of sides for sure. And we went to almost everything.
For men, local and international, it's not as expensive.
My costume cost $500 and that's affordable to me. Saved for it and I got it. Also have to put into consideration that I'm a male, so if you're a female, you know that you have a lot more makeup and fittings to do.
Renee has been spending a whole lot, like about $1,000 maybe. Carnival, between the costume, flight, everything been fun, man. Like, hey, it's a vibe, man. I love it. Want to come back again. Can't wait.
Some wanted to be in glitz and glamour, but forking out thousands of US dollars was not in the budget.
After Carnival, you still got rent, right? So I actually made this. This didn't come with the band. So I'm pretty artsy. So I made this one myself, but I did buy this. And they go together so good. And I just love it.
For others, all expenses paid.
Mommy and Daddy paid for this. Big up, Mommy and Daddy. We're having the best time ever. Hey.
Interestingly, fragments of pieces that cost a lump sum were seen abandoned along sidewalks. There have been criticisms in the past about garbage left behind after revelers leave. This year, cleanup crews were seen collecting garbage while the crowd moved.
When the procession go along, we stay behind and clean it up. We just work behind the carnival. Anything drop on the ground, we just pick it up.
Back in the thick of things, seniors were in on the action. Now the police said vehicles, including motorcycles, ATVs, and bicycles, were banned from participating in the road march for safety concerns. As at 1:30 p.m., Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police Lloyd Darby said multiple vehicles were seized.
No vehicles except the music trucks are allowed in the motorcade. And so far we have seized 8 of these vehicles, and we will continue to seize them during the event, because they were already told not to enter the parade, and plus they are not licensed or insured for the road.
In charge of public safety and the traffic enforcement branch, he said the police will maintain their presence until the road march is over.
We had sent out advisories to motorists to know that the major roads that are blocked, if it can be avoided, then they should avoid it. So far it is going well. Persons who have emergencies or who have to go to their residences have been allowed to proceed.
Ramarda Lyons, TVJ News.
Still ahead in Primetime News, we have the business review and international stories, so please stay with us.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thousands of US dollars. Persons were saying that I was freezing earlier. I hope I'm much better now. But thousands of US dollars spent on Carnival. Well, ladies and gentlemen, everybody, they are free to do what they want to do with their money. Again, sometimes I just think about the priority of our own Jamaicans though. We cannot stop tourists from coming to Carnival to enjoy their money. But look at the amount of issues that we are facing as a nation. You don't see the same unity. You don't see that same togetherness on certain matters. And I will always hold true this position. to ignore. Thank you so much, Balibala. It is not enough to ignore a problem thinking that by ignoring the problem you will fix it. I honestly believe that if there is an issue in our country, as Jamaicans, we must come together with a united voice on certain matters. What matters am I talking about? Well, the same carnival that thousands of patrons went to celebrate over the weekend, some very unfortunate circumstances took place. Popular podcaster Jaii Frais, and I'm not even sure if that's how his name is pronounced, is among 3 who were shot at a carnival party. I believe this happened, yesterday? I'm not even sure. Gun pop off, ladies and gentlemen, because it is said that apparently Jaii Frais made some hurtful comments about a popular Jamaican artist, and the artist's entourage met with Jaii Frais in the party. But it seems as if Jaii Frais had his own weapon as well. They're saying that it is a legal firearm, and it was a little shootout, ladies and gentlemen. It's rather unfortunate that these things are happening at Carnival.
The promoters of Big Wall have described as unfortunate a shooting incident at its Carnival after party at the police officers' club last night. This led to the abrupt ending of the event. Now 3 people were injured in an altercation involving podcaster Jaii Frais, also known as Jaii Richards, who remains in custody and in hospital. Our reporter Anthony Lugg has been following this story.
So here at the Ranny Williams Entertainment Center, production teams are pulling down sections of the stage, signaling the end to what should have been a celebratory end to Carnival. But this afternoon, the focus is now on the violence which unfolded here at the venue. Reports indicate that sometime after 9:30, the after party turned chaotic when 30-year-old content creator Jaii Richards, otherwise called Jaii Frais, went to the restroom and was confronted by a man unknown to him. Now, investigators say the situation quickly escalated with a group of men attacking Richards before gunshots broke out inside the venue, sending patrons scampering for cover. Now, when the shooting ended, 3 men were left suffering from gunshot wounds. This includes Richards, a bystander, as well as another man who's said to be an entertainer. Now, Richards is in hospital under police guard, while another man said to be a music producer who is also a licensed firearm holder is in custody. Now, so far, 2 weapons have been seized as the police try to determine what exactly unfolded and what led to the shooting. Now, we will be tracking this story. We will be speaking with law enforcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, now 3 are injured because of ego. Carol says, idle dog, worry sleep. Because of ego, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, somebody said that he disarmed his attacker and used the same gun. I'm hearing 2 different stories. But guess what? The bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is that we live in a country today where people feel as if that, one, they can say anything about anybody and don't expect consequences. But on the flip side of that, you have people who believe that they can just push badness because of what people say about them. Now, here's what I'm going to say. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a country where everybody wants to prove a point. Oh, Carol says, idle dog, worry sheep. Everybody wants to prove a point, ladies and gentlemen. I said this the other day. Wasn't it just the other day we were talking about the bad man culture? This bad man culture, everybody wants to prove a point. Nobody should have an opinion. Nobody should have an opinion. But we see this even with our own government. Who remembered when, and let me say this first of all, I don't believe in disrespect. Even when I'm critical of leadership in this country, and I give recommendations and create a space for conversations, I try my best not to attack personalities nor character. I attack the issue. But I remember when there was this young man in COVID. Who remembered the young man in COVID who said something rude, I must admit, about the Prime Minister? And in a jiffy, he was found. And I believe he was publicly embarrassed. I don't remember if he was beaten because of what he said about the Prime Minister. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, these things, ladies and gentlemen, that actually contributes to a healthy democracy. It is becoming a thing of the past. Now, if the Lord don't cover me under his blood, God forbid, what would happen to somebody like a Perry Cummings Jr., who is very critical of this administration? I probably would say a lot of things that people don't like. Am I to also fear for my life that labor rights will try and target me? He had to apologize publicly. They took him from under his bed. We see this from the helm of our leadership. What do you expect? And as per usual, the JCF, the government overall, they are now going to consider restricting firearms at entertainment venues because of the incident between Jaii Frais, Javi, the producer of 450, the popular dancehall artist. Why do we always have to wait until unfortunate situations happen before we put proper measures in place? Why? Why? It is unfortunate, Mr. Mackenzie. You used that phrase. You used that phrase recently when people were blasting you because of your lackadaisical steps in getting the people from the schools that you've turned into a shelter. It is unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen, that we are in a country under a government that is reactive in nature. It is the truth. It is the truth. Now the propaganda has started again. People are going to come out now and tell me that Jamaica, among several CARICOM countries, they are being highlighted for progress in the health sector. Progress is who for friend this, ladies and gentlemen? Is which one of Andrew Holness friend this, ladies and gentlemen? Progress in the health sector.
Fire. And if the enemy are fire, you can't stand up like stooge. You can't go on like a fool. You have to fire back. Somebody load up and say pop, 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 pop. Lord God, badam, bam, bam, bam. Jesus Christ, what is what pop, 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 pop. Jesus Christ, war tonight, Bishop. Warfare tonight. Warfare. Badam, bam, bam, bam. Boom, boom.
Progress? Huh? Progress? What progress? What progress? Ladies and gentlemen, tell me what progress do you know of in the health sector. But sir, see, this is happening only because the Minister of Health again is under scrutiny, and rightly so. And rightly so. Every time the Minister of Health comes under fire for his incompetence, ladies and gentlemen, there is always some sort of propaganda to come and try to deflect from the serious issues. Always. But let me remind the Pan American Health Organization. Let me remind the Pan American Health Organization about the reasons why we as Jamaicans think otherwise. Because just recently a newborn had to die because proper procedures were not followed, and a 33-year-old mother, her first child, had to die, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Ashani Marcus, we get into UE. Don't worry, remember, as former Guild president, recent graduate, I have a lot to say about this government and how they have treated the University of the West Indies. We're coming to that. We're coming to that. But who feels it knows it, Paulette. It is very easy for people who are not in this country to get up and make articles because they have to try and protect them friend, ladies and gentlemen. I remembered Pan American Health Organization when last year the opposition spokesperson on health warned this incompetent minister, Minister Tufton, that if you don't act quickly, for context, there was a hurricane called Hurricane Melissa that destroyed the western part of the island. After flooding of that nature, after consistent rainfall in that manner, one can expect the outbreak of leptospirosis and other diseases. Minister Dawes, by the grace of God, Minister Dawes stood up and warned him of his slow response in cleaning up the place, ensuring that him and other ministries collaborating, if they don't act quickly, we will put Jamaica at risk of experiencing a man-made disaster. And what did Minister Tufton say, ladies and gentlemen? He said that the man was playing politics. Not shortly after, there was an outbreak in leptospirosis. Persons died because of this condescending nature from Mr. Tufton. They think that once somebody is critical of their leadership, people are playing politics. It is this administration, Pan American Health Organization, that ended an over 50-year-old medical program between Jamaica and Cuba. Because of the termination of this program, Pan American Health Organization, 27 doctors from the Cornwall Regional Hospital had to go back to Cuba. And that's the reason why there was a shortage of staff. That in and of itself can be directly correlated to why the 33-year-old mother did not get the required assistance necessary to deal with her newborn.
Sakata, we are mash up, fire under the Holy Ghost. Every crisis, every condition, every operation of hell, fire, fire, Bishop. I got your back, fire, fire. Jesus Christ, watch the operation. Watch the operation. Jesus Christ, this foot back road. Come. Come on. Cover your pastor. Going, Bishop. Going, Bishop. Take down the Illuminati. Take down the voodoo. Take down the Freemason. Take down the witches. Take down the warlock. Take down the Wabiaism. The man that the Holy Ghost, left him.
Let me remind you, Pan American Health Organization, why we as Jamaicans feel very differently about your commendations. Winifred Saunders said, Sir Perry, I heard your song on TBC Radio today and I was so happy for you. Thank you so very much. Listen to me, man. Ladies and gentlemen, God and time. Nothing happens before its time. We must remain faithful because the Lord will reward openly. Thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. We're approaching interview time, but I just had to remind this Pan American Health Organization that if any other country in the Caribbean can be praised for any improvement in the health sector, leave Jamaica out of it. What we have seen in Jamaica that has improved is the levels of corruption. That is what we see being improved in this country, ladies and gentlemen. Corruption, nepotism, embezzlement, enrichment. These are the things that are being improved in Jamaica. Not the health system. What we see being improved, ladies and gentlemen, is the poor infrastructure of our roads and drainage systems. That is what is being improved in a very negative way. That is what we see increasing. Infrastructure becoming more deteriorated. That is what we see happening every day in an innumerable amount. Now there's a full investigation, Pan American Health Organization, underway into the death of the newborn at the Carnival Regional Hospital. Who do I blame for the death of that newborn? I blame this incompetent administration. I blame this lackadaisical Ministry of Health and Wellness under the leadership of Christopher Tufton.
Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has ordered a thorough investigation to determine the cause of death of a newborn at the Cornwall Regional Hospital on April 3. An autopsy is scheduled for April 28. Dr. Tufton stated that once the investigation is complete, appropriate action will be taken if there is any sign of wrongdoing.
I think it's important that while it is a very tragic situation and we must show full support to the mother and family, and that has been offered, we also be careful to manage the accuracy of the information to ensure that whatever has transpired, wherever there needs to be accountability, there is, transparency there is, lessons learned there should be, but we do not apportion blame if the evidence does not support the blame being pointed in any direction.
The child's mother, Shandell Ballantyne, has taken to social media to launch a crowdfunding campaign to help cover her son's funeral expenses. Dr. Tufton says the hospital will continue to provide counseling support.
What an embarrassment, ladies and gentlemen. What an embarrassment, ladies and gentlemen. It is a shame and a disgrace. It is a shame and a disgrace. Shame on you, Pan American Health Organization. Shame on you. Pan American Health Organization. Shame on you, 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 Pan American Why not come and ask Jamaicans their opinions? Why not come and ask Jamaicans the questions? Why not? But instead of relating to the people and asking us, the advocates, those who are on the ground, people who have to be, we are the ones who have to be experiencing. You guys are not going to the hospitals. Pan American Health Organization, when last have you visited Carnival Regional Hospital, South Hospital, Spanish Town Hospital, KPH? When last have you visited one of these hospitals? Not one of you people visit any of these hospitals to see the state of what this country is in when it comes to health. When it comes to health and wellness, Jamaica don't have no talk. But because of friend and company and because Minister Tufton under fire, you people are now going to come out. Listen to me, man. It is a disgrace. It is a disgrace. And it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. Falmouth is a disgrace. Not even garbage this ministry can ensure is being disposed of properly. Not even garbage is being disposed properly. And you're going to talk about improvement. The health ministry has become worse off under Tufton. That I am sure of, ladies and gentlemen. That I am sure of. And this is the reason why no change is happening in this country. And they continue to manipulate Jamaicans. And of course the labor rights supporters. They will gobble up this and run with it. Perry say Minister Tufton should resign. PNP has said Tufton is doing a poor job. Because the Pan American Health Organization said that we're improving. And they gobble up the filth. They gobble up the propaganda. They gobble up the deception. They gobble up the deflection. They gobble up the lies, ladies and gentlemen. And nothing changes in this nation. We're going to touch on some matters after this. But, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, it is so sad. It is so sad. Let me calm down for the interview. Let me calm down for the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what is happening in our world today, where it comes on to the war in the Middle East. And it would be remiss of me as an advocate to not have a conversation with some of our connections right across the world. And tonight we are going to be having Kia Noosh. Yes, he is known as Kia, right? He's known as Kia. And he's an Iranian journalist. Neuroscientist actually, but he is definitely versed in research, and we want to hear from him to really shed some light as to what is happening in Iran. This is the latest that I could find coming from one perspective. We're gonna play this clip, and then the next person you will see apart from myself is Kia. All right, this is what is happening on the international scene. Well, at least from one perspective.
All right, now 10:30. Have been watching us. We've been waiting for this window. It is open. And a moment ago, President Trump posting this on Truth Social, writing the following: Iran's Navy is laying at the bottom of the sea, completely obliterated 158 ships. What we have not hit are their small number of what they call fast attack ships, because we did not consider them much of a threat. Warning, if any of these ships come anywhere close to our blockade, they will be immediately eliminated using the same system of kill that we use against the drug dealers on boats at sea. It is quick and brutal. P.S. 98.2% of drugs coming to the U.S. by ocean or sea have stopped. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that was posted a moment ago. From the region, we go live to Tel Aviv in the Middle East, and Trey Yinks to get the view from there today. Trey, hello.
Yeah, hey, Bill, good morning. The U.S. blockade of Iranian ports is now in effect. The region waits to see how and if the Iranians will respond. U.S. Central Command giving some new details on this blockade, saying the blockade will be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. CENTCOM forces will not impede freedom of navigation for vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports. This critical step by the United States comes after negotiations in Islamabad, Pakistan, finished without a deal. Reports indicate major gaps on the issues of strait control and uranium enrichment. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he spoke with Vice President J.D. Vance after the talks.
The explosion came from the American side, which could not tolerate the blatant violation of the agreement to enter negotiations by Iran. The agreement was that the fire stops and the Iranians immediately open the strait. They did not do it. The Americans could not accept this.
On Sunday, Netanyahu visited southern Lebanon, where the fight against Hezbollah continues. He was joined by Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz. Today, Hezbollah continued rocket and drone attacks over the border against northern Israel. Now, Bill, right now, the Israeli military has raised the alert level across the country over concerns that Iran may get directly involved in the fight once again, following the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the blocking of Iranian ports.
Wow.
Bill?
Okay, a lot to track. Thank you, Trey. Good to have you on it. Back there, Tel Aviv, Israel. Trey Yinks.
So let's bring in Rebecca Heinrich, senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. We're 33 minutes into this blockade. What do you think of the strategy?
I think it's really smart, Dana. I think, Vice President Vance went in and really tried to negotiate in good faith and gave about a dozen hours or more, I think it was, marathon negotiations. And the U.S. side really hasn't changed about what we're demanding. We want a total safe passage to the Strait of Hormuz. We want a complete dismantlement of Iran's illegal nuclear program. We want Iran to stop funding its terrorist proxies. And the rump regime that discussing with Vice President Vance simply wouldn't concede. And they really do not have any leverage against the United States. As we've talked about before, Dana, President Trump hasn't even removed a single ground force out of the region. There was this surge of specialized ground forces into the region. None of our Navy forces have left, our Air Force. Meanwhile, the Iranians essentially have no effective Air Force and Navy. And so we're going to try this very limited blockade of Iranian ports. It's going to hurt the Iranians way more than it hurts everybody else. And we're going to see if we can actually get the Iranians to capitulate.
So while you were speaking, I was hoping they would pull it up here. This is what J.D. Vance said are the red lines for America, and we pull up here on the board. You mentioned many of them, including the dismantlement of all nuclear enrichment facilities. But the last one is fully open the Strait of Hormuz, charging no tolls for passage. That would just be back to the status quo ante. But I'm curious, what do you think the Iranians' threshold for pain is in terms of their economy? Because they don't care. One of the reasons there was the protest beforehand is that the economy was in shambles. The people were up in arms. They were upset about it. And the Iranians said, we'll give you an additional $7 a month. Well, that's not going to cut it. So this is going to bring more economic pain to the Iranians. But will the regime actually feel that pain?
So it's really important that we differentiate between the Iranian people and the Iran regime. So you're really right to do that, Dana. So any threats against things that would affect the Iranian people disproportionately than the Iran regime itself, it's not going to change the behavior of this rump regime. The only thing that's going to change the behavior of the rump regime, if anything at all, is threatening their life. So threatening the actual regime leaders, the IRGC, which the Israelis have been very effective at fully penetrating into this leadership. There's that, and then there's also just completely cutting off their ability to carry out any kind of attacks at all, which is what I think this blockade against these Iranian ports are going to do, because this is the lifeblood into funding the regime. And again, it's meant to change their behavior, to see if we can get this current rump regime to capitulate and essentially say, okay, we're going to cooperate and be more pragmatic. Or if this doesn't work, then I would suspect the United States is going to resume carrying out further attacks to create more pressure and pain against the regime to get more compliant leadership in place.
Okay, and then we have 1 minute left. So Israel is continuing to target Hezbollah. This has also been an issue of contention in the negotiations. Watch here from Danny Danon.
We have no beef with Lebanon. On the contrary, we want to see a sovereign Lebanon, and we have a mutual enemy that's fighting the sovereignty of Lebanon, which is Hezbollah. So we are welcoming the talks, the negotiations, but we know that the Lebanese government, they are very weak, and hopefully, they will have the courage to confront Hezbollah.
So the Israelis are saying, we're not going to leave these terrorists on the border, but that is a bone of contention that the Iranians have because they support them.
Which is really interesting, because Iran has contended for years and years that they do not support Hezbollah. But clearly, part of the U.S. goal in Epic Fury is for the Iran regime to stop supporting its proxies. Hezbollah has been one. Vice President Vance has been clear that was not a condition for the United States to implement our ceasefire. So Israel can continue to take out Hezbollah in Lebanon. And by the way, the Lebanese government has said that the Iranian ambassador there was persona non grata. So we need to separate Hezbollah from Lebanon. I would suspect these attacks to continue again on the part of Israel aside, because they can't afford to let Hezbollah continue to exist there, Dana.
Rebecca, love having you. Thank you so much for this morning.
Thanks, Dana.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That's the latest coming from the United States, but it's never a good thing just to hear one perspective. I'm joined tonight by Kia, neuroscientist out of Iran. Let us make him feel welcome in the chat. Kia, how are you?
Hi. How are you doing? I'm doing good.
Yeah, awesome. It is a pleasure to have you here with us. Did I get your pronunciation right for your name?
Yeah, that's it. Right.
Okay, well, that's good. I thought I butchered it, in every sort of the imagination. But Kia, in Jamaica, we've been hearing a lot about the war between the United States, Israel, and Iran. But we on this side specifically, we tend to only get a one-sided perspective of the entire war. So one of the things that we want to know first of all is what is happening on the ground in Iran. But first off, let's just hear a bit about yourself. Who is Kia, and what are your passions?
Okay, thanks so much for having me. First of all, so I'm Kia, neuroscientist at Brownstone University, and doing research on understanding mechanisms of attention and memory and attentional control in the brain in general. So how do we control our attention? How we navigate in the environment, and control how to navigate in the environment? How between all of the informations that are bombarded at us, we can selectively attend to those information that are relevant to our goals while suppressing the distractors. So this is the fundamental question that I actually pursue, and my goal is to understand basically, what are the control mechanisms, learning control mechanisms? How do we learn to control our attention, and both behaviorally and also in the brain? And of course, like many other Iranians, besides research, I'm pretty much involved in political discourse and discussions. So, yeah, that was a brief overview of myself. So if you specifically ask questions, I can go deeper.
Awesome. Hey, let me tell you, it is very interesting because I did some reading, and neuroscience is such a wonderful thing. And I heard, I read something about AI as well. You have some interest there. How do you feel about artificial intelligence, especially in this day and age where some may argue that the lines are being blurred, between AI and what should be, morally right to dabble in? Let us know your thoughts about artificial intelligence. Is it being misunderstood, or it's something that we should really consider to improve?
I mean, it is a, inevitable parameter of future life, even right now, artificial intelligence. So to some degree, I mean, regardless of its technical improvement, one of the key differences between artificial intelligence and the brain function is energy. So, I mean, you basically consume about 1 millionth of energy that you need in artificial intelligence training by your brain to have similar outcome. So, I mean, that is the area that these two, brain studies and artificial intelligence, are coming together. Basically, how to be inspired by the brain in order to push artificial intelligence forward. But with regard to, I mean, ethics and moral issues with artificial intelligence, that is, like everything else that the human being has developed, but it is really going to be developed at a really, really higher pace. So it's going really fast. Adaptation is really going to be momentarily. And every day that we wake up, we have some new models, some new, big news in the tech world on the topic of artificial intelligence. And I would say that is something that will affect the future of job market, everything, even education in the next 2 to 5 years dramatically. And anybody who basically falls behind is going to lose this war.
Very interesting, Kia. Some persons, you could turn up your volume, because many persons are saying that they're hearing him quite fine. So if you find that he's still low on your end, you may just need to turn up your device a bit more. But Kia, the big question, or the big topic rather, is really what is happening between the United States, Israel, and Iran. For clarity, for us here in Jamaica, do you know of the reasons as to why this war started?
Well, when we are talking about the war, I'm not quite sure, first of all, that what is the dominant news or perspective in Jamaica. But let me to give you a perspective from an Iranian, perspective or point of view. So when we are talking about the war, we should basically divide it into two different components. One of them is the war that regime has ushered against Iranian people. And this has been from 47 years ago. So after the revolution, the Islamic Marxist revolution that happened 47 years ago. They started to massacre people, execute people for different reasons. Most of that was religion, like they were, Shia extremist group, and tried to execute anybody who was against them. Baha'is, they were very tough on Sunnis, other religions as well, like Christianity, and that was one thing. Another one was political. So anybody remnant of the previous regime, anybody who was loyal to the Shah and who had any sense of patriotism was executed by this regime. And it was continued. Every other years, there was a demonstration, an uprising, and it was suppressed. Like in 2009, there was this, 2008, there was this green movement that was suppressed. And again, 2016, 2018, 2021, and right now, 2025, that they killed and massacred more than 40,000 people in just 2 days.
Wow.
2 days. So at the night of 18th and 19th of January, they shut down the internet completely. And in a digital blackout, they massacred more than 40,000 people. They went to the hospitals and even finished those that were wounded. They raped those nurses who were helping those, wounded people. And to whom? To basically, what you say, their own, civilians who were unarmed, and they were, protesting against economic hardship, against not economic hardship per se, but as a whole, the entire regime, because it is a mafia, a corrupt mafia regime in all sense. So they were protesting, and then the regime decided to basically kill as many as they want with war weaponries, not something that you would use in just suppressing local demonstrations. It was war weaponries, heavy weaponries that they used to massacre and kill people. And after that, basically, all of the Iranians were just, asking for a humanitarian intervention, because they know, okay, we tried every single possible way, like from any way that we think, okay, it was uprising, demonstration, different types of civil disobedience, and all means that were possible. But at the end, the regime decided to massacre this amount of people. And right now, more than that we are talking, more than hundreds of thousands are in prison. And so they clearly know that, okay, barehanded and without arm, they cannot confront this barbaric regime. What they asked was simple. We need humanitarian intervention from US, from Israeli government. And the reason is that, okay, you have your own interests. And on your way, Iranian people's interest is also aligned with you. So it's a win-win situation. We can get rid of a regime that is, really crazy. You saw, by the start of the war, they started to, throw missiles at all of the, neighboring countries. From Saudi Arabia, they hit Aramco refineries, LNGs in Qatari, and United UAE, they attacked also Bahrain, all of the, Oracle, Amazon, all of these, even technological sectors in the region that were not even, involved in the war. Kuwait, they attacked everybody. 11 countries were attacked. And just assume that if this regime is going to have nuclear weapon, is there anything that prevents them to use it? No, they will use it. It's part of their nature. So they, their whole ideology is based on, expansionism and getting the war, basically conquering the world. So what Iranian people actually believe or see is that, okay, this regime is not, national government. It is an occupying force. They believe that Iran is occupied. So they do not consider this regime as part of themselves, saying that, okay, these are our people ruling on us. But instead, it is, some sort of foreign occupation in their mind, that this regime is no different from a foreign occupier. That's why right now their view toward the war is completely different from what is depicted in most of the media, that, okay, they are sad that this war happened, or no, actually, if you look at the videos right now that we are talking, is 45 days after post-war that the internet is shut down. Who shut it down? For 45 days. Just imagine you are in complete digital blackout. Even they do not have access to phone communication between somebody inside and outside. So what is this for? US did not attack digital bases in Iran. US did not shut it down. It was by the government itself. Why? Because they don't want the Western world to hear the narrative inside Iran. But between those, there are still some Starlinks inside Iran that they can connect. And when you see videos are coming out, everybody is happy when there is, it's really ironic because, you are hearing these loud bombs dropping and you think that, okay, people should be afraid. But no, actually they are on rooftop and, looking at this bomb and thanking Trump or Netanyahu that, okay, hit them harder. And a lot of, high profile officials have been targeted in this war. And still, what Iranian people at this point want is that, okay, finish the job. This is a wounded animal. If you leave them, they are going to take the revenge on us. So they cannot, they don't have power to fight the fight with Israel or with America. But instead, they have enough power to go full revenge on their own, citizenries. This is...
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. But you're here, we're joined with Kia. We're hearing a very different perspective. We've heard about blackouts. We've heard about two sides to the war. A lot of things are being unearthed here. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will hear some more from Kia, neuroscientist, yes man, all right, out of Iran. Soon come.
The perspective with Perry Cummings Jr. Big up yourself. The best is yet to come. This is my perspective, telling you my perspective. This is my perspective to bring change that I feel me objective. Scandal after scandal. Look.
and Pearl Therapy, we are here to help you to bring ultimate relaxation to your feet. Our hot stone, Swedish, and deep tissue massage services are here to help you to get rid of tensions, minor swellings, and aches and pain, increase flexibility and circulation. If you are having any heart or circulatory diseases, then this might not be for you. Reach out to us and let's see if you can secure yourself with a foot massage for as low as $4,500. Thank you for choosing Pearl Therapy, the healing hub.
Are you frustrated with your skincare? Are you tired of acne, blemishes, scars, sagging skin, wrinkles, discoloration? Why not enjoy our wide array of products, from skin, hair, and personal care? Place your frustration on our shoulders, and we will get you smiling again. The power of our products are in our formulation and ingredients. Listen to our customer testimonial. This is what she has to say.
Oh my gosh, look at my face. I've been using these products for a year, exactly 1 year. If you have not tried them, you need to try them. They really work. Look at my skin.
Visit our website or contact us at 917-557-6204. Make it Tonian Organics and order yours today.
Food is designed to be felt, not just tasted. Soft warmth, gentle richness, a harmony that melts effortlessly on the tongue. At Cummings Exquisite Caterers, every dish is an invitation, guided by passion, finished with elegance. We cater for life's most meaningful moments, elegant weddings, private celebrations, and much more. With a serene repast center just 10 minutes away from two major cemeteries. We are located at 38 Dublin Spanish Town Road. Reach out to us, 876-573-9124. Cummings Exquisite Caterers, where desire meets dining.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Perspective, and I'm your host, Perry Cummings Jr. We're joined here. We're here with Kia, a neuroscientist out of Iran. He has been giving us a very different perspective. And listen, we have over 700 persons here tonight, Kia, and persons are in the chat saying, hey, this is a different perspective. We didn't hear about this part of the story. Before we took the break, we asked you, what do you believe could have triggered this war? But you mentioned the dynamics of it, that, you know, there are different components to it all. But what I really wanted to ask you, how do you believe people are coping with this as a neuroscientist? You know, how do you think people are coping with what is happening in Iran today? Well, we're not hearing you. We're not hearing. I'm not sure if you're muted. Go again. Are you guys hearing Kia? Well, we're not hearing you now. Are you guys hearing me? I wonder maybe you could restart.
Do you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, you're good to go. You're good to go. Go ahead.
Sorry. So, I mean, I can tell you about from an Iranian perspective. So, you can cope with a lot of stuff if you have hope for some, you know, brighter future to come. So, we have two different, you know, options for the future of Iran. One, continuation of this regime, which is the total darkness and total destruction of Iran for Iranian people. You can see over the last 47 years, they have basically fueled war everywhere, developing proxies in different countries, you know, investing all of national resources, national monies, everything on just exporting extremism across the region. And the cost for that was suffering of the Iranian people. And they have developed a lot of, underground cities for their missile programs, for their nuclear programs. And with all of that, I mean, when you have lived under such situations that, okay, the government is using the whole, nation's money in order to expand extremism, and at the same time is waging war against you, you do not have hope in the future if you believe that you are going to live with this government forever. So the only hope here is change. The other path is that if they believe, okay, we can get rid of this government, get rid of this regime, and open a new chapter, that there is actually hope. A government that is from the people, by the people, for the people. Not somebody who is using the people's resources in order to wage war against them. So with that in mind, when we are talking about coping mechanism, absolutely. I mean, any war, any conflict is going to have long-lasting effects on, minds, especially for, those kids that are growing up in this situation. But it is going to be far more devastating if this war is over and the regime is still in place.
So you agree with the war?
Yes. Not only me. I mean, if you ask Iranian people, I would say like more than 80% of them are agreeing with this war. And that's why the internet is right now shut down for 45 days. So they can, the government can sell their own narrative to the world.
So what would you say to persons who may think that it could have been done in a different way? Because we're here to hear everybody's perspective. What would you say to persons who are like, well, Kia, what if we could have found a more peaceful way to deal with the matter?
Well, I would say we did that on January 18th and 19th. And the cost was 40,000 lives from 3 years old, 20 years old, 18 years old, 17 years old to like 80 years old. Young, most of them young people with a bright future ahead, they were shot on the street in cold blood. They were massacred. So we have tried every single way that you think it would be, peaceful. What kind of peaceful you can consider as a way if the last response that you have received is like 40,000 dead? So I would say the population of Iran is 90 million, and more than 40,000 were dead, and more than 300,000 were wounded. So roughly, you can assume, you can imagine, out of any 1,000 people that you see, more than 2 people were affected by this regime only in 2 days. And despite all of this war that has been around for 4-6 weeks with the United States and Israel, still the number of those who are killed, and they most of them are military officials or government officials or so. Still, it is not even close to what they have killed in only 2 nights. So when somebody is telling Iranian people, some more peaceful way, I mean, for them, the response is nothing, less than a outrage, because they say, okay, we did everything. If you read the history, like 2009 Green Movement or Mahsa movement in 2021, and right now the Sun and Lion revolution that is still going on, and it started in January, all of these were peaceful movements. So this is the point. For a government that basically uses every means in order to hold on to the power, you have to use every means in order to remove that government. There is no way that they can go, a step down or go away by their own, or with diplomatic solutions or so. Their DNA is suppressing their own people inside and exporting radical ideologies outside. You cannot expect change of DNA from somebody whose ultimate goal or ideology is to destroy the world. They would lie, they would cheat, they would do anything that they can in order to hold the power. And I mean, nothing is more important than human life. So if you, I invite anybody who is watching this show to go and gather some of the videos that are not generated by the media propaganda or so, those that are posted by some people who have access to a Starlink or so, and see the real opinion of the Iranian people. A lot of them on the roof are watching the missiles are coming down or the bombs, but they are confident and they believe that these bombs are not going to affect them, and mostly it is a targeted attack on regime officials, and they are happy about that.
So let me ask you, it's a very interesting conversation that we're hearing from you, Kia. The chat is blowing up. I'm pretty sure persons have questions in the chat, and if you see something that you'd like to respond to, feel free. But I remember when Donald Trump said that they were willing to bomb the bridges, the power plants, and I saw Iranians gathering to these places at the bridges to show that they are willing to stand for their country. How do you feel about the Western power coming up against Iran? Do you feel any sort of sympathy towards them for that?
Well, let me explain. So you say they say we are going to attack those bridges or infrastructures, and then the media in Iran is actually showing a narrative that people are gathered in order to protect those infrastructures. Okay, you have the internet to show this, but you shut down internet for the people to tell their own narratives. Why you do not open the communication channel to see who is right and who is wrong? So absolutely, with the regime, with that mafia power, there are a lot of at least 4% or 5% that are hardliner in the general population of Iran, and they are part of the regime and benefiting from that. It's not hard for them to gather some sort of people in order to show, this is a human shield that they try to form around the bridges or so. So this is absolute propaganda they are exporting. This is a distorted narrative. As long as the internet is shut down, this is absolute propaganda. If you are not afraid, if you think that the people are also thinking like you, why you are not opening the communication channel between the people and the free world to see what is their true opinion?
All right, that's a very interesting one, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think in the chat? Do you think that it's a propaganda? Let me know. This is the perspective. Of course, we're here to hear different sides to different stories. Listen to me. This is an exclusive interview. I want to ask you, Kia, because I know you said that he's an hour ahead of us, so we cannot keep him for too long. But what I'm getting from you, Kia, is that you're saying that there are two things happening at the same time. So there is one perspective where there's a war between the US and Iran, but there's also an oppression that is happening in Iran. Could you tell us a bit more about the oppression or the regime then that you believe a lot of Iranians are not pleased with? Could you shed some more light on that? Some of the corruption that you think is happening there?
Well, a lot of them. One clear example is women strike. So in Iran, many women have been beaten to death for, not wearing hijab. Another one is just, political discourse. So anybody who is not aligned with this regime, who wants an actual democratic secular system, is, oppressed by the regime. So you have a country that comes onto the streets in millions and chanting that, okay, we don't want this regime. If you are truly a not suppressive regime, instead of killing 40,000 of them, so this is really interesting. That, I mean, I can share videos with you of the killing and massacre that happened, or your audience can just do a quick search on internet. It's not it's really accessible. It's not a difficult job to do. So they killed 40,000 innocent civilian, unarmed civilians. If that is not oppression, what it is brutality. You cannot find similar instances in the history that a government has killed more than 40,000 in just 2 days. Only 2 days. From women's right, from religious right, from others' right, nothing is actually respected. And these people are fed up. So this is what you see in Iran. And I mean, absolutely, yes, you can listen to their propaganda network, and they are talking, we are bombarded by the US, and it is an unfair war or so unjust war. But okay, open the communication channel for the people. You say you are right. You say, why you shut down the internet? The internet is shut down. You have no moral authority to talk about, Iranian people. The internet should be open so you can hear the actual voice of the Iranian people. They are shutting down the internet and then bringing on their propaganda machine and some, paid, mental prostitutes, and asking them to play their own narratives. And they do that. And they have been doing that for 47 years. And these people are fed up with that.
Thank you for that, Kia. Let me say something to the viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to remember that persons will have differences in opinions. You know that this is a sensitive topic, and a lot of persons will have different things to say. All right? Kia is sharing his perspective with us, where he's coming from. You may not agree with it, but you cannot necessarily bash him for his views. Kia, we saw here on your bio that you're an Iranian neuroscientist. So persons want to know, are you from Iran, or you're Iranian, right?
Yeah, I'm an Iranian neuroscientist. I grew up in Iran, and I did my college education in Iran, and then basically came to the US to continue for my PhD here. And, that's another point. A lot of, the easiest way for many people is just sitting there, and they have so I'm a neuroscientist, and the very basic deception that the mind has is forming a bias for you. Why? Because change is the hardest. Change is the most energy consuming task for the brain. You hold to your belief, you hold to your opinion and don't want to change it. And it's interesting, I see some of these comments that, okay, I am the one who was in this country and then basically came here to study PhD. Why should I come here to study my PhD? I would rather stay in my country, with my friends and everybody. But I came here because there were no opportunity. And then, right now I'm telling you a story. You can think about it. You can ask critical questions. Or you can, just spew some propaganda. Oh, you are Israeli. No, I'm not Israeli. I'm Iranian. And I came here for my PhD. And I mean, right now, I would say this is absolutely simple. You have to ask some simple questions. Why internet is shut down for 45 days? If they are right, why it is shut down for 45 days? Why did they attack all of these countries in the region? Why did they kill more than 40,000 people in 2 days? And this is propaganda. That after doing all of this, still, in Western world or in different parts of the world, just the hatred that has been grown out of one country, for example, Israel, basically closes everybody's eyes to the reality, to see what is going on in the real world. Even they do not consider, so somebody, 10,000 miles away from Iran is believing that somebody who was raised in Iran and is an Iranian doesn't know what is going on in Iran. So, I mean, and it's not only me. If the internet is open, then you can.
Kia, would you say that somebody, yes, because the person thought you were in Iran. Listen, the comments, they are blowing up. Listen, we almost have 800 persons here. Do you think that you being in America may have contributed to your perspective, or this is just you, regardless of whether you studied in America, yes or no?
No, this is me, regardless of whether I was in America or not. But the thing is, if I was expressing these views and I was in Iran, I was executed. That's the difference. So, yeah, you cannot find anybody inside Iran who is going against the regime and is not executed. And
interested.
I'm basically enjoying and taking advantage of this freedom of speech, the privilege that the United States gives me. At the same time, to criticize, policies of the United States and also policies of the Iranian regime or the Islamic government in Iran. So I'm here free to talk about whatever I want. And if I go back and start talking about the regime, then I would be killed. Simply.
Ladies and gentlemen, the interview is an hour long, so we will wrap up at 8 p.m. our time. It would be 9 o'clock his time. Remember, all our interviews are for an hour long. All right. Again, this is Kia's perspective. He is here to share with you as an Iranian about his own, perspective on the war. Persons are asking if you have family in Iran. Kia, do you have family over there?
For security reasons, I would not disclose that.
Okay. Okay, interesting stuff. We have a few more minutes left. We're almost at the hour mark. What recommendations would you have to give? If there, do you believe, first of all, let me ask you this first. Do you believe that there's an alternative way? And if so, if you believe that there's an alternative way to resolve this conflict, what would your recommendations be?
The alternative is that the regime in Iran put down their, weapons. They say, okay, we are going to have a referendum, pass the government to the transitionary government, the government of the people, and then step aside. It is simple. When some people tell you, okay, we don't want you, then you basically hold a referendum. In any democratic, society, you do that. If people don't want you, you are killing them to hold into the power. That's not gonna work. So either they have to say, okay, we are, giving the government to the hand of the people. We are holding a referendum or whatsoever. Or the alternative is that they are, going out with force, and that is the, not ideal solution, but the only solution if they decide not to.
Interesting stuff. Persons are saying that it's actually good to listen to other views. Listen, I know persons are because to hear this perspective for many, Kia, it is very new for them to hear this perspective coming from an Iranian. They would expect that all Iranians they are for the fact that Donald Trump and Israel is the one, but it is different to hear an Iranian talking in this way. As we hit the mark, I would like, but it's a sensitive topic, Michelle, but we do have sensitive topics every day. This is politics. This is us international politics. We cannot always close off ourselves from hearing something else. We don't have to agree with what Kia is saying, but it is his perspective, right? And I believe this is a good discussion to hear what is it that is happening in Iran, because very well we could have other Iranians in Iran who shares Kia's views. So I don't want us to be all superstitious and think the worst. I'm good. You don't have to worry about me. I will not say anything that will put myself in danger. This is Kia's view. You may not agree with what he's saying, but it is his view, and we have to be respectful for other persons' opinions. All right, you don't have to agree. I don't have to agree with what he's saying. I am okay. So thank you all for worrying about me, but I'm fine. You don't have to worry. I'm all right. So Kia, as we hit we have a few minutes out. We're gonna go back to some local politics, but I'm not sure. Are you familiar with Jamaica in any way?
Unfortunately, not much. So, yeah.
Okay, interesting stuff. I wanted to ask you one question before we go. What do you think about the state of our country today? I'm not sure if you were listening to the early part of the segment where we were talking about some issues in our country. What are your views on Jamaica?
As I said, I do not have a strong background about the politics, and I would say something that is, immature, I would avoid that. But if you give me some background, I would definitely share my perspective.
All right, no problem, Kia. We won't pressure you too much. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Kia, an Iranian, not living in Iran, but of course, he had his own perspective on the Iranian war, and he said it. Listen, it's better to surrender. He's saying that it is somebody says that he was sent by Andrew. My God, ladies and gentlemen, let us stop this. Let's stop that. But anyways, Kia said that there are two things happening in Iran. There are two different perspectives. There's a war between the US and Iran, but there is an internal war happening in Iran, and we heard Kia's views. He's saying that it is better for Iran to surrender. You may agree or disagree with him. That is what Kia shared with us. Kia, thank you so much for coming on The Perspective and sharing with us your views.
Thank you so much for having me, and have a good night.
All right, awesome. You take care now. We're going to take our final break, and then we'll come back and we'll touch on our local politics. Thank you so much, Kia. Blessings to you, sir. Blessings to you, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to like the live as we take our final break. We come back, we touch on some more local politics. All right?
The Perspective with Perry Cummings Jr. Big up yourself. The best is yet to come. This is my perspective, telling you my perspective. This is my perspective to bring change that I feel me objective. Scandal after scandal, look where Jamaica come to. Them rob the money and a thief a lot too. Election tactics, what a disgrace. Them cut off ribbon and the place no safe. It's a prime minister, are you me a address? Police a kill off the youth if you check. Talking about the way country are the best. But though this are my perspective, telling you my perspective. These are my perspective to bring change that I feel.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Perspective. Listen, we have a whole lot of interviews coming up because you do have a lot of perspectives coming right out of different places. It is very interesting, a very interesting perspective from Kia. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that Kia is on the wrong side of that you know, of the fence? Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that Kia being in the United States of America may have you know, caused him to think differently? Or do you believe that Iran really and truly is going through its own regime and they do need external intervention to liberate Iranians there? Let me know what you think in the comments. But it was actually interesting to hear all of that. But, you know, despite, we want to thank Kia for being so brave to actually come and share his views. Somebody says that Kia is protecting his visa. You think that Kia is protecting his visa? Somebody says that Kia is protecting his visa. Let me read some of the comments here. Somebody says Kia is a sellout. Somebody says that there's no way. What this comment is saying? Ricardo is saying there's no way a parent being bombed by US and Israel is going to be happy about that. That is not liberation. Somebody says Kia is a liar. Certainly not a person who cares about Iranians while they are killed and bombed back to the Stone Age. Somebody said that he was born Iran, so he would know more than us. He has lived experiences. Judith says Nokia is not he sent by someone, I don't trust him. Alright, so that's some of the comments that we're seeing. Carol says my lips are sealed. Oh God. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, that was an interesting one. Oh, before I forget, Mr. Golden, he's going to be having a conversation on the post Melissa housing crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, please to tune in to the Jamaica PNP on YouTube, on Facebook. I believe it's going to be on several platforms. I think it might be on, well, here is saying Facebook, but normally it's on the YouTube, right? So we are looking forward to hear what Mr. Mark Golden has to say regarding the post-Melissa housing crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe that this government has been doing enough regarding our housing. I am going to be tuning in to hear what is it that the PNP is saying, right? It's very interesting to know that the NHT will be raided again by this government. Yes, it's very interesting that housing is so expensive. I'm trying to remember if Andrew Holness has built one house in the name of recovery. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know that the mayor by Montego Bay had some initiative, but I don't hear with the PR person that Mr. Holness, he's the type of PR guy. Anything that he's doing, he's gonna let you know. And I'm trying to understand. It is the 14th. That's tomorrow. Right? That's tomorrow. Yes, Lorna Jackson, let them know that he wasn't sent. I have a contact in my phone that has connections with several Iranians and Israeli and all of that, and she said it would be good to have some international guests to share with us their perspectives, whether they agree with the war, yes or no. The discussion would be interesting nevertheless. So he wasn't sent by anybody, ladies and gentlemen. Please, I understand that we're all on edge, but he wasn't sent. Alright? Somebody's asking about the Falmouth Hospital. I heard about what is it that is happening with the Falmouth Hospital, ladies and gentlemen. But when it comes to hospitals in Jamaica, are you surprised that our hospitals are atrocious? We shouldn't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot be surprised that Mr. Christopher Tufton has done nothing to improve our hospitals. There is absolutely nothing to show for our health and wellness in this nation. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, when you think about it, I believe Jamaica's health and wellness is the worst that it has ever been in the history of Jamaica. That is my perspective. How do I know this? Today, there was a protest at the University of the West Indies, ladies and gentlemen. There was a massive walk off the job from workers at the university. And when you talk about you, you call my name, because I was guild president there and I was a student there, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to tell you that I blame the government for what is happening at the university hospital. I blame, not the university hospital, the UE Mona. Well, I blame the government for what is happening at the university hospital. I also blame the government for what is happening at the Mona campus. And I'm going to tell you why. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember that the University of the West Indies is a government-funded institution. I hear labor rights trying to blame the principal. Don't blame the principal. Blame the government. And I'll tell you why. What we must understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that the UWI, it is a government-funded institution. Around 17 different countries contribute to the UWI. Jamaica, our government, contributes to the Mona campus. As a matter of fact, there is a model that has disastrously descended into nothingness. It was the 80-20 model, where the government, the Jamaican government, would contribute 80% to the school, right? To students' tuition. and students would find the 20%. That type of arrangement is long gone. The Andrew Holness-led administration destroyed that. So what had happened, ladies and gentlemen, is that the university had to increase fees. When I became guild president, we experienced the largest increase in housing fees, in tuition fees, in the history of the campus. I was on CVM, TVJ, I was everywhere, because I was saying no to the increases. But the university was backed in a place, ladies and gentlemen, where they had to cover certain costs. The government refused to assist, so the pressures were placed on the students, myself included. Now I am hearing, ladies and gentlemen, that it is alleged, and I'm going to tell you what the allegations are. It is alleged, ladies and gentlemen, that the negotiations and promises that were made with Nigel Clark before he went away to pay these people who were protesting were not met. These promises did not come true, ladies and gentlemen. The promises that were made allegedly by this government, they did not come true. I am hearing also, allegedly, that for 4 years, people at the University of the West Indies working could not be paid because of the lack of funding coming from this government. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a lack of funding coming from this government when you think about several ministries. As a matter of fact, the Ministry of Education, does not believe in funding our institutions in any real way. That is the reason why persons say that labor rights don't believe in education. Think about it. When last have you really seen this government really and truly invest in education in the realest way? Education is at an all-time low in this country, and now even our tertiary institutions are being affected because of this uncaring government. When you think about the contributions from government, caterers are not even being paid. Sir, see, a lot of the contractor workers, they cannot be paid by the university because the government refuses. They refuse to contribute to the institution. Stop behave as if UWI is not a government funded place. UWI is a government place, ladies and gentlemen. So don't act as if the government shouldn't play a part in how well funded the university is. Yes, there might be instances of mismanagement in the past at the UWI. I won't say that those things are not possibilities, but I find it very sad that you went from 80% to, I believe it is less than 50% or a little over 50%, and you don't think that wouldn't have affected the university? You don't think that wouldn't have affected the university? Come on, man.
That is it. Yeah, man. So we get another charge.
I'm tired. And too much. Can't work. Hungry and Come with me. Somebody tag TVJ.
Yeah.
Look at what this person said, ladies and gentlemen. Yui is a big plantation. They say Yui is a big plantation. This is what the Yui workers did yet today at the very front of the university on Mona Road. When will Jamaica come together and call out Dr. Tufton, call out Minister, because I know I don't see no proper protest, you know. When will this country, our fellow Jamaicans, put politics aside? Because I'm pretty sure right there's a mixture. I'm pretty sure you have some labor rights and you have some PNP there and probably some independence. But you see, when there is an issue that affects everybody, people will put politics aside, get them placards, put on them black shirts, go and march and demand better. This is happening at Yui. Why is it that Jamaica can't take a page out of Yui Mona book? Am I to believe, ladies and gentlemen, that we are all satisfied with this leadership? Are just PNP people have a problem? Well, I guess Carnival keep on. A lot of Jamaicans went out and spent thousands of dollars on Carnival costumes, thousands of dollars on liquor. So I guess probably I'm living on a different side, and there's two different Jamaica there. Because I cannot believe for the life of me that we live in a country where we have ministers breaching procurement guidelines, no transparency when it comes to spending taxpayers' dollars. There's no regard for rules nor regulations. $1.4 billion was claimed to be the spending money on the old yellow buses brought to you by Minister Vaz. To date, we can't see proper documentation, no receipt, no nothing. Recently, the minister said that they need 100 new buses. So till the Auditor General said they're going to have to launch a probe because something not right. The procurement committee flagged the procurement activities by the minister, you know. You don't see Jamaicans coming together with an outcry against corruption. Look at the Minister of Health. This Minister of Health, ladies and gentlemen, under his leadership, under his guidance, under his leadership, Minister Tufton has caused major hospitals in this country to run down to a place where it's as if it cannot come back to any sensible place of operation. Look at the Cornwall Regional Hospital with all the promises, with all the millions of dollars, billions even, that they claim. We still see hospitals running below the standard. Should I continue? It is this administration, ladies and gentlemen, that ended the Cuban medical program that many of our Jamaicans benefited from, specifically the poorer class in this country. it were the Cuban doctors who went to the rural parts. We got the eye specialists from Cuba. 27 Cuban doctors left Carnival Regional Hospital the other day. And that is the reason why the 33-year-old didn't get the assistance that was required for her to have a safe delivery. Help me tonight, Jesus. And how it is that all of these things are happening, ladies and gentlemen, yet we don't see a mass protest happening across this country. People will go blind. People will suffer and die because there's a lack of staff at our hospitals. It is this administration that did that. It is this administration that did that, ladies and gentlemen. Yet Jamaicans can look past all of these problems and there's no outcry. There is no mass outcry from our Jamaican citizens. What has happened to us, ladies and gentlemen? Where are the nannies, the Paul Bogles, the Sam Sharps? So you see today that the university staff came out, took out their placards, and they're saying that the university is a big plantation. Well, fun fact, where the University of the Western Mona campus is, it was actually a plantation. So I find the placard very, very interesting. Probably that's the reason why they did it, to play on the concept. But it's not just the university, ladies and gentlemen. All of this is coming from a place. We cannot look at issues in isolation. If the head of the stream is corrupt, what do you think will happen to every institution in this country? Again, it is the government that should be standing a bulk of the cost at the university. You know where I blame the university? And I said it while I was president. The university should never allow the government to get away with so much. Hold the government accountable. They need to be investing in our students. Don't tell me that you want people to stay in your country and work. You want nurses to stay, you want doctors to stay. You want the most brilliant minds to stay in Jamaica, but you don't want to have a part to play in their education. When the PNP last year was saying the first in the family, Labour rights found every way to criticize it. Recently, the Minister of Finance said that they're supposed to go and take on the SLBs. Don't run from debt. And the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students came out and flogged her for it online. Because the government refuses to invest in our young people. And as a young person, ladies and gentlemen, I find it difficult as to how some young people support this administration. Labour rights asks me how me as a young person can support the PNP and not Andrew Wallace administration. I can tell you why. This is the reason why. This is the reason why. The government refuses to invest in our education, in our young people. So the burden is left on the university. They have deficits to fund. They have an institution to run. So guess who feel it? The students. School fee have to go up millions of dollars. Dorm fees have to go up millions of dollars. People are dropping out of school. People can't afford to go to university. People can't get proper qualifications because this government refuses to invest in its own people. Majority of who go to UIMONA are Jamaican. This government refuses to invest in its own people, and then you're going to turn around and ask people to stay in this country. No wonder Jamaica is among the countries with the highest percentages of brain drain, because people don't see where the government is playing its part to invest in your people. Invest in your young people so that we can in turn invest in Jamaica and contribute positively to the growth and the development of this nation. This government refuses to do that. Huh?
Yeah. Come somebody tag TVJ. Somebody tag TVJ and CV and tell them. Tell them tag TVJ and CV.
Nobody is staying in this country, Mr. Holness, because there's a lack of opportunities. There's a big lack, ladies and gentlemen. When you think about it, there is nothing to really come home to. And that's what the nurses said recently to the Prime Minister. But Jamaica is quiet. We can all go to Carnival, Jamaica. Can I talk? Ladies and gentlemen, young people, let me talk to you. Let me talk to you. Let me talk to you, young people. We can get up and go to Carnival and jump. But look at the state of your country. This country should not be operating like it is business as usual. We are in a crisis. Fire their mus still. You all can finish it. Young people, it is time for you to be concerned about the matters of your nation. You spend millions of dollars on Carnival every year. All of that is going into private owners. It's not being invested in your country. It is going right into the pockets. Right into the pockets of the promoters. They don't care about Jamaica. But they have the money to go overseas and make life for themselves. Can you do it? Can you do the same? Can you afford, young people, to ignore the issues that are happening in your nation? Can you afford to allow a corrupt government to take from the poor and to make life easier for the rich? Can you afford to do the same, young people? Listen to this bit of news. We're almost out of time.
Time now for a look at some of the top stories making news around the world.
In the region, Trinidad and Tobago has acknowledged the legitimacy of Venezuela's current administration, signaling a shift in its previously guarded position on the political crisis in Caracas. The statement marks a departure from months of deflection by government officials in Port of Spain on the issue of recognition for the Venezuelan president Delcy Rodriguez. On the international scene, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, a major ally of Donald Trump, has been ousted from power after 16 years. Orban conceded election victory with the opposition on course for a landslide win in today's election. Opposition leader Peter Magyar is set to be the country's new prime minister with more than 80% of the votes counted. His party is set to win a massive majority in parliament. Record numbers turned out for an election which was seen as pivotal to the future of Hungary and Europe, and which delivers a blow to the Orban's close allies Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. And U.S. President Donald Trump says the U.S. Navy will blockade the Strait of Hormuz, a vital shipping route, after peace talks with Iran collapsed yesterday. In a post on Truth Social,
Hungarian Prime Minister, after 16 years, gone. I wonder when Jamaica will rise up and demand a change of leadership in this nation. Well, that's the reason why we have the election. But the percentage is going out to vote, ladies and gentlemen. It is embarrassing. There's absolutely nothing to show for the third term. And as I end today, I want to remind you of just how filthy our country has become under this leadership. There's absolutely nothing to show for this third term. Listen, we have a long way to go, ladies and gentlemen. But the advocacy can never stop, Listen to how filthy Brownstone market is. This government talk about caring for the people, loving people, wanting to do better by the people. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen.
Tempers flared inside the latest meeting of the St. Anne Municipal Corporation as frustration spilled over about raw sewage flooding the Brownstone market and a lack of maintenance at the facility. More in this report.
We cannot move on with 4 or 5 sheets of zinc missing and it can't fix.
Tensions boiling over inside the St. Anne Municipal Corporation, mirroring the very sewage crisis at the center of a heated dispute in Brownstone. At the heart of it all, raw sewage flooding the Brownstone market whenever there's heavy rain, forcing closures, angering vendors, and igniting a fierce war of words between councillors and the corporation's leadership. Chief Executive Officer Jennifer Brown Cunningham insists the problem is not new and not simple.
The issue as it stands is a long-standing issue. Whenever there is heavy rain, the sewage system overflows. There's a problem. When you open it and you look down in there, plastic bottles from here to Sri Lanka, down in the sewage system, because the surface water, I don't know what happened. And that is what we are now working on.
But that explanation did little to calm frustrations inside the chamber. Councillor for the Brownstone Division, Kim Brown Lawrence, fired back, placing blame squarely on poor maintenance.
The drains need to be clean from top to bottom. The market is not being maintained. The market hardly wash, much less the drains are being cleaned. That's why we keep having the recurring problems, my lady.
Councillor for the Dry Harbour Division, Carlton Ricketts, slamming his desk in visible frustration, painted a picture of neglect, decay, and indignity to vendors.
When you go in here, you see the cobweb. Up until now, there are missing zincs from hurricane. And we have been riding that. Go and come, and you want to tell me 5 God Almighty months, and the zinc still missing in the Brownstone market? Come on.
Back in Brownstone, vendors cope by rigging tarpaulins inside the market or wading through filthy water during downpours. But Councillor Brown Lawrence says the warning signs were there long before the latest flooding.
Every month in commercial, we complain about the same thing over and over and over. Every month, no fixing, Now the storm come, we trying to blame the storm. We knew about this problem long before and did nothing.
But the CEO maintains this is bigger than routine cleaning, describing a deep-rooted engineering failure now under review.
We have to correct the issue that is there, or else whenever it rains heavily, we are going to have this issue, and that has been the issue forever.
So them on fire, and if the enemy on fire, you can't stand up like stooge, you can't go on like a fool, you have to fire back. Somebody load up and say pop, 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 pop. Lord God, badam, bam, bam, bam. Jesus Christ, what is what pop, 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 pop. Jesus Christ, war tonight, Bishop. Warfare tonight. Warfare. Badam, bam, bam, bam. Boom, boom.
The filthy market is a reflection of this government. The filthy market, the filth in the market is a reflection of this government. It is showing us the type of administration that we are dealing with. It's the truth. But you know what? Persons voted for the Jamaica Labour Party. They said Jamaica choose JLP. That's what they say, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot believe that the Jamaica Labour Party is still blaming Melissa when a lot of these issues, they existed long before the hurricane. Stop trying to take Jamaican people for fools. Well, at this point in time, there are a lot of fools in this country, because for you to get up, look at here, Kim Brown, the whole lot of them, ladies and gentlemen, you all knew the incompetence of your administration. You all know the sorry excuse of a government that you are all a part of. You all knew that the government was going to use Melissa as a scapegoat for your poor governance. You all knew that this was going to happen. You Jamaicans who got up and rallied behind this unforgiving government, the Lord have a special beating for a lot of us, in this country. Because I cannot believe, ladies and gentlemen, that people can look out of their own eyes, see the state of their country, and still get up and vote for JLP? What else is it that is needed to happen in this nation, ladies and gentlemen? What is going to move the country to drop everything and take to the streets? What will be the defining moment in Jamaica where we will put aside our nonsense and tribal politics and recognize that under this administration, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen more woes than anything that is possible? $32,000 fool, What a disgrace. What a disgrace. But I cannot stop the advocacy, ladies and gentlemen. I have to keep on keeping on, because I'm thinking about our children and our children's children. I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about the future of Jamaica. And it is sad that some Labourites don't love Jamaica. But I love my country. And I believe that my country can be much better. I believe that my country can be much better. Ricardo, guess what? You see, back in the days, and listen, I'm against violence. No, let me be very clear. I am against violence. I'm against vandalism. I'm against lawlessness. But we saw an 80% voter turnout in Manly days. And that was a violent time. All I'm saying is this, ladies and gentlemen. A revolution is needed in this country. A revolution, if we don't get up and let our voices be heard, Jamaica will continue to go down this road of stagnancy, no growth. The poor will still be in poverty, the rich will be richer. And at the end of the day, what will be the end of it all? What is there? What is the sense? Remind you that these politicians, their children are not going to public school, you know. Them family, alright. They have their businesses put down. Millions of dollars pumped into them. Their children don't have to work. These poor people who are suffering. But these poor people is putting back these politicians into power. What type of curse is on this nation, ladies and gentlemen? Jamaica is in a very dark place. There's no growth. I don't know if you feel the heaviness. There's a heaviness over this country. I am in Jamaica, so I can tell you. There's nothing to rejoice about. There's nothing to... Don't you feel the heaviness, ladies and gentlemen? Jamaica is just going through the motions. There's nothing to celebrate in this country. Every little thing that would bring us joy and happiness, it no longer gives us any form of excitement. One time, boys and girls champs was something that Jamaica would put aside to go to and support our children. That is lost in the noise because of the corruption, the skullduggery, the poor governance, the poverty. People are dying. No recovery from Melissa. Nobody can support boys and girls champs. Schools challenge quiz happened the other day. Persons don't care anymore. Not even the carnival that they are creating excitement about. That listen. It's a disgrace. Jamaica is losing its identity. Jamaica is a country known to have the happiest set of people on this planet. But these days, under this administration, Jamaica has become a dark and gloomy place. And any Jamaican that you see that is trying to make it seem as if things are okay in this nation, if you do enough research, they are supporters of the Jamaica Labour Party. They are loyalists to the Andrew Holness administration. A facade, propaganda. Propaganda. But this is Jamaica. Apparently I'm in a different country. Maybe I'm just exaggerating. Maybe I'm the one that is caring too much. Maybe we're the one, ladies and gentlemen, who refuses to go and enjoy ourselves. Probably we should just stop the talking and allow Andrew Holness and his government to do whatsoever it is that they want to do. But I cannot subscribe to that. I cannot subscribe to that. And that's why I'm saying to the opposition, don't give up. Keep the advocacy. We're waiting on Parliament. We need to know what is happening in this country in the sense of governance. How are we going to move forward? Things cannot continue like this. The lives of our children are at stake. The lives of our poor and the elderly is at stake. It is clear that this administration doesn't care about the poor. We see it time and time again. And I don't believe it is that persons don't believe that it is the truth, that they don't care. I think people just don't care enough about the truth. So nobody says anything. They've accepted that this is the way that the government will operate. So nobody says anything. Nobody asks any questions. People are just frustrated. And this is what our Jamaica has become. But I believe in my heart that the best is yet to come, ladies and gentlemen. Let us keep hope alive. Words of the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. Keep hope alive. A change is coming. Lord, we give you thanks for your mercies. We give you thanks for your grace. We give you thanks for another opportunity to advocate and to share views and vision with each other. Lord, we pray for this platform. Lord, we pray for the families who are hurting right now because of the war in Iran. The war with human beings, human lives. Children are dying. People are crying. Yes, persons may have other views, but the reality is, Lord, that these people are your creation. There must be a better way to resolve what is happening in the Middle East. So, Lord, we're praying for peace. We're praying for change, but we know that the Bible must be fulfilled. So, Lord, at the end of the day, we ask that your will be done. We cannot get upset and aggravated over what is happening in the Middle East. This is a part of Bible prophecy. These things must come to pass. If they don't come to pass, then you would be a liar and the Bible wouldn't be true. But because we know that these things must happen, we cannot get overly emotional because we know that these things will happen. Persons will support the war. Persons will support Donald Trump's invasion. Persons will support people losing their lives. All we can do, Lord, is ask you for mercy. We pray for Jamaica. We pray for the poor, the elderly, the widows, the orphans. We pray for our children. Mighty God, I ask that you will root up every ounce of corruption out of this administration. Lord, I pray that you'll expose those who continue to take advantage of our people. And we're praying, Lord, for a righteous government. We're praying for a change. Show us the way, Lord, because it is clear that we are lost as a nation. And many continue to bury their heads in the sand. But we will not do like ostriches. We will look squarely into the face of corruption and we say no to corruption. We say no more. Enough is enough. Let your name be glorified and let your will be done as we look to you and tell you thanks. In Jesus' name. Let the people say amen, amen, amen. See you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Listen, we're keeping the fire burning and burning bright. We're keeping the fire burning day and night. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for sticking and staying with me. In the future, who knows? I may have to consider a night program, a late night program, because who knows where the Lord is going to take me during the evenings. But I'm happy to know that persons are still sticking on. Yes, I may start another program. I may start to have 2 programs per day, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Pray for me. Pray for me as I think about that. Pray for me as I think about that. But What I would do though, it wouldn't be just a regular program. I'm thinking of going in the streets. Midnight Cry is coming back. You remember yesterday on my birthday I showed you guys an evangelist because I want somebody else to do Midnight Cry. Right? I cannot stretch myself too much. Gary Griffiths, it's between Gary Griffiths. Well, if Woman of Fire wants to come back, she can come back. But I'm gonna start having evangelist Gary Griffiths to come on, do his own exhortations and prayer sessions. I'm gonna be calling on my church family too to do Midnight Cry. I don't have to do it. Right? I don't have to do it. So I'm just working out that for Midnight Cry so we can start having those meetings. But I'm gonna be having a day program, but it will take the form of like street interviews. I'm fleshing it out. I got some equipment. So I'm thinking of how he wants me to do those interviews, because I think it's good to go live in the streets. Pray for my safety, but I want to go in the streets and ask people their opinion. I may come across some debates, but I'm not afraid of debates. But I think it would make the program that program would be very, very interesting, because we're going on the corner, we're going into the barber shops, we're asking them. I would have to walk with security, Ivan. Don't worry. I have persons who I can call on from the force that would accompany me. So I know my protection would be okay, right? But I think that's something that I want to start doing. At 10,000 subscribers though, I'm gonna be getting my own work branded shirts. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, and we want to have those conversations in the street. It's going to be very interesting. That's something that I want to do. But you know me, I'm respectful. So even if I meet upon persons who have different views, I don't think I'd say anything for them to physically harm me. God forbid. But it would be better if a millstone was hung about the neck of that individual and they were thrown in the depths of the seas. Because I'm telling you, I know the God that I serve. If somebody should make that mistake, ladies and gentlemen, it would not be pretty. But I digress. What I'm saying though is that is something that I'm definitely considering. Going out into the streets. Live coverage into the streets during the day. Probably like an hour each day. Probably some days I might go to Half a Tree. Some days I might go to Spanish Town. Some days I might go to Maypen. Just in the major towns. And or probably for a few weeks I stay in an area and we do a broadcast from there. Probably do a little setup and we can do our live coverage from there, and we can interact with persons as we discuss matters of the nation. That's something that I'd like to do. But of course, as you all are saying, I'll have to have my security there and my team there with me. But that's something that we're definitely looking out for though. Yeah, pray for me regarding that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, what them say, the likes to reach 500 yet? No man, we're going to play here abide as we go. But like up the live, ladies and gentlemen. For those who don't like up the live yet, like up the live, because we're not far from 500 likes for this live. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah man, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be blessed. Bye bye.
Be